This important symbol has a hidden message for the audience, a message that has been hiding in plain sight and remains one of the most important aspects when it comes to understanding the infinite alternate realities dynamic that's happening in the game. It is the lighthouse which stands as both a symbol of individuation as well as unity in the physical world. Because think about, first of all, by external appearances, or let's just talk about the basic functioning in the world of the lighthouse. The functioning of the lighthouse is to warn ships, hey, there's land here, there's rocks around this area, don't get too close. It's communicating, right? It's communicating between worlds, essentially. It's reaching out to another part of the world and saying, hey, be careful, right? So that's what a lighthouse is. That's just its physical function, right? Now, let's talk about the metaphysical aspect of the lighthouse. Individuation, and before we do that, we need to talk about individuation because it's a term used in Jungian psychology to describe an ever-evolving process by which a person transcends their own previous individual or group attachment state in favor of coming into higher levels of awareness. Remember, I was talking about the key, the virtue of the key, being baptized, passage into new areas, coming into higher awareness. This is what we're talking about. It's been described in esoteric study as living in a mansion and gradually discovering keys that unlock certain rooms. Sometimes you don't know, you find a key, you don't know what door it unlocks. That's doing the work, looking around, trying to find out, right? But you discover keys, you discover the correct, you find the key that goes to the lock, you open the door, you enter the rooms for the first time, and it's there that you gain new levels of understanding. Individuation comes at a cost, however. The cost is isolation from those who have yet to be individuated. Those who are individuated are isolated from everyone else with if you have a new understanding, if you gain a new understanding, a new insight that others don't have, you're isolated in that respect. The lighthouse is isolated. The lighthouse keeper is isolated, right? The symbol of the lighthouse is amazing. So what do you think happens when Booker opens the door to Elizabeth's prison and lets her out into the world? It's why she was locked up in the first place, because her individuation threatened to completely destroy Comstock's world. Think about that. Now, according to Jungian sandplay child therapist Dora Kalf, she says, and this is a quote here, the lighthouse rises from the sea towards the sky, thus uniting the opposites of Father Sky and Mother Earth, the primordial depths with spiritual heights, so the depths and the heights are united, the unconscious with the conscious, the darkness of the subterranean world to the light atop the house itself. The lighthouse therefore unites two great symbol systems of heaven and earth. The lighthouse expresses the totality of nature by uniting the water at its edge, the earth at its foundation, the air rising up into, and the fire burning at its zenith, the light at the top of the lighthouse. All four elements are united in one structure. So what she's saying is we have this metaphysical unity of opposites of masculine and feminine, and at the very same time we have this physical unity of the four elements. So you have the exoteric and the esoteric world symbolized in the unity of the lighthouse, which of course stands as a symbol for the human being. I mean, this is just incredible. She goes on to say, the lighthouse contains a spiral staircase. Its cross-section reveals a mandala. The mandala is the symbol for absolute wholeness, uniting opposites and representing a synthesis of the four elements. The spiral staircase suggests growth. The unfolding life cycle is well conceived as a spiral staircase, each stage of the cycle being a landing which provides a temporary resting place before yet another round of growth. The lighthouse can appear at the beginning of the process, suggesting a more positive prognosis, or at the end as a signal of the arrival at wholeness. And so at the end of the game, what are we shown? We're shown just a near infinite number of lighthouses, right? As a signal of the arrival at wholeness. Incredible. In Bioshock Infinite, each lighthouse represents a different possibility or outcome among a seemingly infinite amount of possibilities or outcomes. Look at what's at the top of this lighthouse. It's a human figure extending toward the heavens with the light above them. I mean, come on. What do you think this means? Just like individual human beings, no two lighthouses are alike inside and out. And yet, all converge or overlap in some very common ways. And at the very same time, paradoxically, are able to occupy completely different realities from each other while inhabiting the same spatial physical reality. Think about that. Now, using the lighthouse as an analogy with the development of the human psyche, Carl Jung wrote, "By becoming conscious, the individual is threatened more and more with isolation, which is nevertheless the sine qua non of conscious differentiation." Sine qua non means that it's a necessary condition. Without such a condition, a thing would not be possible at all in the first place. Now, there are many stories of lighthouse keepers going completely insane from monotony and isolation. One such recent depiction is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, released in 2019 and set in the late 19th century, starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. So this idea of the lighthouse as of the individual is just such an amazing analogy, because as an individual, you can feel isolated. As a lighthouse, using that as a symbol, as an individual, you can feel isolated. You can feel all of these dark things, but at the same time, you have this light at the top of your lighthouse, right? And the way through that darkness of isolation in the lighthouse is to move up into your inner lighthouse until you reach the top where you turn the light on. And what happens is turning the light on reaches out into the world, and it touches others, right? This is an amazing, I can't believe that this lighthouse analogy in Bioshock Infinite hasn't really been touched on in this way before, because I think it's so incredibly important, and I really find it hard to believe that Ken Levine would have put this in there by accident. I just don't think that that's possible. Now, isolation, of course, doesn't have to drive one mad, but it certainly is a risk for one whom is seeking individuation and desiring to expand their awareness. So that's something to be aware of. The more you seek, the more awareness that you cultivate in your life, the higher up you move in your understanding, your consciousness, and your awareness. That may isolate you from others if they're not on that same journey. So that's just something to be aware of, something to understand. It comes with the territory. Now, another interesting symbol of the individuation of the human consciousness can be seen on the door of the lighthouse itself. I mean, look at it. Here we see a human figure standing on its own solitary foundation. Think about that. With winged arms reaching up to the heavens and a shining beacon high above. For those who are seeking, at least, mankind has always been amongst there's always been seekers amongst the ranks of mankind, and that will never change. So those lighthouse keepers among us, shining their beacons out into the world, right? Bioshock Infinite is just an amazing message for those people, for us, right? So some of them some lighthouse keepers might very well might go insane, but many other lighthouse keepers in our world seem to be doing just fine, right? So everyone, in a sense, is a lighthouse keeper. It's just an amazing analogy. And well, the first time I played through Bioshock Infinite, I didn't realize any of this. When I started looking into it, I always felt intuitively like there was something so special, especially the first time I played through, and Elizabeth's talking about a million doors, and I'm seeing all these lighthouses, and I'm like, okay, there is a really interesting thing going on here. There's a really deep message. I don't understand it quite, but there it is.